In this video, I'm going to share 3 tips that will help you take your GarageBand guitars from this to this. Alright, there are loads of different variables that will affect how you EQ your guitar recordings. Things like, did you record from an amplifier using a microphone, or did you connect it directly to your iPad using an audio interface? Have you added any effects like a chorus or a phaser? Is it a clean guitar part, or is it swathed in layers of distortion? And is it a rhythm guitar part or a blistering, face-melting lead section? Regardless, there are a couple of things that I recommend you do on every single guitar recording that serve as a good starting point to work from. 1. Get rid of the low end. I usually cut most, if not all, frequencies below 80 Hz completely. It really helps to keep this frequency area free to let other bass-centric instruments like the bass and kick drum do their thing. Depending on how you've recorded your guitar tracks, you'll probably have some muddy, deep bass, rumbly stuff going on here anyway. Best to just get rid of it. Now, you can use GarageBand's built-in visual EQ for this, but it is very limited in the amount of control it actually gives you over the frequencies in your track. You can tap and drag the bass EQ point down as low as it will go, around the 50 Hz mark, and it will remove pretty much all offending low-end sounds. There is perhaps a better alternative to this that I'll talk about in a wee second. The second EQ thing that I recommend you do to pretty much every guitar recording is to cut a wee bit around the 300 to 800 Hz range, though this is where things can get a little bit tricky. These frequencies are the cause of that kind of boxy, undefined sound you sometimes get with guitar recordings, so you'll definitely want to cut somewhere here. Experiment where exactly, as this will differ depending on whether your guitar was recorded through a mic or an interface, and whether it's clean or distorted, as I mentioned before. Again, GarageBand's built-in visual EQ isn't going to be precise enough for stuff like this probably, so instead I'd recommend heading to the plugins and EQ section for your guitar track and adding Apple's N-band EQ effect. This allows you to add different kinds of EQ points and adjust the width of the affected area, amongst other things. Personally, I recommend the Butterworth High Pass for dealing with your low-end frequencies, and the Parametric EQ point for cutting in the 300 to 800 Hz range. Whether you're recording your guitar directly through an audio interface or through a mic'd up amplifier, you're going to want to turn the gain down on your actual guitar a bit. Having it cranked all the way up might sound great live, but you'll want to be a little bit more reserved when it comes to recording. Dialing it back even a little bit will give you much more control over the amount of gain added after you've recorded your audio, which in turn makes things far more flexible when you come to actually mix your project. The same rules apply to your amp gain and effects. You may think that having the gain or distortion cranked right up will fill out your sound. It doesn't. Instead, you'll just end up with messy, unstructured, fizzy noise. You'll actually get a fuller and more rounded sound by recording 2 to 3 lightly driven guitar tracks and panning them to different sides of the stereo spectrum. Here's how one distorted guitar sounds in this track with its gain cranked up in an attempt to make it sound fuller. And here's how a few layered guitars with their gain turned down a bit sounds together. better. One thing to remember though, that you will always want to record several different takes of the same guitar part to layer things up this way. Just copy and pasting the same guitar part won't have the same effect. It'll just make things a bit louder, but not any fuller, if that makes sense. Maybe a bit of a controversial take here, but especially when it comes to driven, dirty tones, GarageBand stock amp sims and effects don't really sound very good. Yes, they come free as part of the app, but they haven't really been updated or changed at all in a decade. The world of guitar amp simulation apps has moved on considerably in the last few years, and the result is that you will struggle to get good sounding guitar recordings with GarageBand's built-in suite of amps and effects when compared to other iOS guitar apps. In terms of alternatives, you have several free options that sound great, like ToneBridge, a unique app that allows you to search for specific guitar tones from specific songs that the app will recreate for you. There are also loads of premium guitar apps out there that are well worth considering if you want the best guitar recordings possible. For a rundown of my favourite guitar apps on iOS, watch this video next.